Hello and welcome to the Menopause Unplugged podcast with me, your host, Nikki Oliveira. Today we are joined by the lovely Gillian Brown. Gillian is a personal life coach and also an alcohol-free coach for women and mums. And she's also the co-founder of Our Circle, which we'll get into slightly later on in the episode. How you doing, Gillian? Okay?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank
So
you.
today we're going to be discussing all about, sort of alcohol, menopause, and sort of all the overlaps. But can you explain, Gillian, how alcohol affects women differently from men and especially in midlife?
Sure. So, it's really quite simple. We're just like smaller than men. We've got less water and more fat in our bodies again, so that's just affecting the concentration of alcohol in our bodies. And then our livers are much smaller than men's as well. So we've got less of the enzymes that are used to break alcohol down. So really, it's just when we drink, it's more concentrated in us than it is guys. And that was one thing, like maybe decades ago, when it was mainly men that drank. But now, over the years, women are drinking as frequently as men, and they're often keeping up with men in terms of the volume and the frequency and the amount of alcohol that we're drinking. And that's why they are reporting such an increase in women experiencing these like liver damage and liver disease through alcohol. So it's just biologically we're just different. We're just set up in a much like smaller, I don't like to say fragile way because we don't like to seem as if they're bigger and better than us, but they're just definitely bigger than us. So
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. And by the time you
Wow.
get to midlife, well, we all know what our body's priority is at that point.
Hmm.
There's just so many other changes going on in our bodies, so that just makes it a kind of shakier ship already, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's just something else for our bodies to try and resolve when it's got stuff that's naturally going on in our body that we really should be making the priority.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, touch when you've touched on what happens in our bodies already, but when it comes to particularly like our hormones, um, you know, and of course stress and things like that, what really happens then when we drink alcohol?
So this is one of alcohol's big lies as well, because so many times we think we are having a drink to relax or to switch off
Yeah,
or to like calm down after a busy day. But actually what alcohol is doing is upping our baseline cortisol levels. So
okay,
there was a study here in the UK that found just drinking 14 units of alcohol a week, that's not a lot. Like a large glass of wine is about 3.3 units. And I only ever drank large glasses of wine, right? So
yeah,
if you drink even 14 units of alcohol, whether that's all in one go, whether that's throughout the whole week, that is actually increasing your baseline cortisol levels. And our cortisol and adrenaline's increasing in menopause anyway.
yeah,
So that's us just adding even more of that stress hormone into our system. So to me, when I found that out, I was furious. I was furious because I definitely in my head was using alcohol to calm down and to switch off.
yeah,
So if anxiety and stress is a particular menopausal symptom that a woman is finding challenging, having a drink at the end of that day to cope is actually making it more difficult just at a baseline level.
yeah.
Not to mention the fact that our cortisol increases every time we drink and as well.
Yeah.
So
My
It's
goodness.
just added. It's just adding fuel to a fire.
It's like a vicious circle, isn't it, really?
Uh-huh. It
Hmm.
is. It is. And alcohol is affecting our levels of estrogen and progesterone as well. So it increases our estrogen because of the way that the liver adapts other hormones into estrogen, and then it in turn impacts the way that our liver metabolizes estrogen, and it decreases our levels of progesterone. But also what happens is, see, even though like our liver is like the primary place for all this balance that's meant to be happening, but the alcohol is seen by the body as a top level toxin, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a single cell in the body that alcohol can't impact because it's water and fat soluble. So, but the liver in particular is always where our hormone balance is going on, but that's also where that the alcohol is having to be broken down. And once you ingest alcohol, it doesn't matter how pretty the bottle is, it doesn't matter what lovely name that you're giving it, it's ethanol. It's just ethanol, and that is such a high toxin in the body that everything else stops, and the priority becomes getting rid of that.
Yeah.
So, as a woman, it doesn't matter what we're trying to do, whether we're trying to balance, whether we're trying to recover, fat loss, anything. All that stops, and the body's priority becomes to break down alcohol.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it really does have it's like it kicks everything else into the long grass, and then you're left dealing with the alcohol instead of everything else that we've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as from what you've just said there, it makes sense that, menopausal symptoms are then worsened or, more
Yeah.
intense because of that, because the body's not able to regulate, right?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And then there's each of the different symptoms as well, all are also um almost mirrored by alcohol as well. So when our sleep is affected by menopause, alcohol also affects sleep, affects our sleep as
Yeah.
well. So because alcohol is a depressant, following there is the initial dopamine hit that we all think is, and it is good at what it does at that
Yeah.
point. It definitely gives us that spike in dopamine,
Sure.
but then as a depressant.
Yeah.
So what the body then tries to do, usually around 2, 3 in the morning, as the drink's wearing off and you're sleeping, it then floods you with with cortisol and adrenaline, and that's what can waken you up
Yeah.
at that time in the morning.
Hmm.
Now, many of us women are already experiencing that as a result of menopausal symptoms as well. So it's like, even there could be a night where you're getting a bit of a breather from that. If you've had a drink, you're adding that into the mix too. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it feels like a bit of a double whammy. I feel like
Yeah.
um
It
with
makes
it.
total sense, to be fair, Gillian. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced it, whether we're perimenopausal, postmenopausal, or even
Yeah,
pre-menopausal. It's all sorts of patterns that we can certainly recognize once we've had, alcohol. Even for me, what these days, like even one drink, whether that's a gin or a wine or a prosecco or whatever,
yeah,
like I can really feel the effects. It's almost like I'm getting a hangover from just after drinking it. Like I can
yeah,
feel the effects
yeah,
of the alcohol just because I'm not having it often at all. So I can imagine, like, if you're in a cycle where you're drinking all the time, like you
yeah.
don't actually really then know what's normal for your body.
Well, Nikki, that's the thing. Like, so I've stopped drinking for 5.5 years almost,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't say I was in any way perimenopausal when I was drinking,
Yeah.
but the redness in my face that I lived with all the time and just thought
Mhm.
that's how I was. It it wasn't. That was alcohol. And I used to really sweat, particularly like if I got the slightest bit nervous or anxious, I was really, really quite sweating. It was almost like hot flushes.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
that back then there was nothing. I wasn't anywhere near menopause. It was all alcohol related, and it was my sleep. I was up through the night,
Mhm.
and we all know nothing sensible happens at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like that's when the world's caving in and everything is. And I was like, God, that was it's all alcohol related. And the women that um co-found our circle with me, she is going through menopause. And what I admire about her so much is that she's so aware of herself
Yeah.
because she's not got the ups and downs of alcohol. So what she's experiencing as a woman going through perimenopause and menopause, and not because she's distracted, her body's distracted by trying to get rid of alcohol and the ups and the downs and the moods and the sleep and everything else. And she's just really able to approach her menopause and how she's going to live her life through that
Absolutely.
face on, like and on her terms, and not yeah, and not through the distraction of alcohol in any way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, do you think alcohol like acts as a coping mechanism for symptoms that could be addressed in healthier ways then?
Yeah, I think um I mean, so many of the women that come to us in our circle, it's like the demands of motherhood,
Hmm.
the stresses, and then also the changes that women go through. Alcohol is very much packaged up and offered to us as a solution, and as a like just have a drink and calm down. Like it's really quite patronising, but it's just like, oh, have a drink and calm down. Like you've
Yeah.
had a stressful day, have a drink.
Mhm.
One of the things that we see in our circle is like we deserve more. Like we deserve more than our crappy glass of wine at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
we deserve the time to stop and try and understand what it is that's going on and what it is emotionally or physically that we need to address, and we deserve the time to work on that. But I think alcohol is so quick at what it does. Like that dopamine hit is instant.
Yeah.
It's so available and it's so quick. So it's just when you're a busy woman, it's so easy to just grab that and have it. Like you can be making the dinner, you can be folding the washing, you can be, and if you don't stop to have that glass of wine, when will you stop? So it's definitely see a coping mechanism, and we could address all of our needs in much healthier ways, but we are generally the very bottom of our own lists. Like we know what the kids need, and we know what the husband needs, or the mum, or everybody else. But so many times when we ask our women, what is it that you're looking for in that glass of wine? We don't know.
Mm.
We
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely. I mean, well, let's do some myth busting around this,
Right?
right? So,
Mhm.
what are like the sort of common myths then that women are told about alcohol? Like, the red wine is good for you, or like as you said, that a glass of whatever will help you relax.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there was that one about the red wine in particular
Yeah.
that's good for you. And I think that has been debunked. So like whatever the chemical is in red wine that's good for, I'm sure they think the initial study was saying it was good for your heart.
I
But
think so,
it
yeah.
turns out like the volume in which you would need to drink in order to get the benefits of that is like absolutely skyrocketed, that you would be definitely feeling the negative effects of alcohol by the time you got to that point. Certainly the idea that you're relaxing is one of the big myths.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I've said, I was absolutely furious once I had done my research and realised that it was ranking things up for me. And the sleep one, a lot of people will say to us, "Oh, I just need a wee drink to get to sleep."
Yeah. I've
But
heard that.
I mean, it definitely, as I've said, the rush of cortisol and adrenaline through the night will affect your sleep. And also, even if you do stay asleep, it doesn't let you get to all the cycles of REM sleep. So you might sleep right through, but it's a rubbish sleep that you've had. So
Yeah.
you're not getting any of the benefits that your body's needing as well.
Mm, absolutely, yeah, because like we think we regenerate when we sleep, right? So if our body's getting rid of that alcohol, then we're just going to wake up feeling rubbish for the next day or the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely. So when not only is it like about the sleep cycles, but as I said, if you've had a drink, it's the body's top priority to break that down. So all the recovery that we're meant to be doing during the day, during our sleep, that's stopping because that's the priority. So
Yeah.
we're not really giving ourselves a chance. We're not really giving ourselves a chance.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, how how do you think that the wellness and lifestyle industry like sort of contributed to the kind of wine mum culture?
Well, I I certainly remember when I was younger and I went along to these diet groups
Yeah.
being told don't drink wine, drink vodka.
Mm,
And because the spirits were less calories. You think,
yes.
wow, like let's tell people to go on the stronger stuff just so that they
Mm,
can lose weight. You think, geez, also we're like ushering all these women, um, even away from wine onto the spirits because that'll help them in the long run
yeah.
with that particular goal. But it does fascinate me how there's times like I'm a runner now that I don't drink, I run, and there's still running events that hand out like prosecco at the end of them and stuff, and
Mm,
it's just wild. Um, and I do think I've had conversations with quite a lot of PTs and quite a lot of like gyms, and it does seem like that's an area that they're too scared to say to people you really shouldn't like to really really talk about it.
yeah.
That's it. I mean, some PTs, some nutrition, you know what the internet's like. There's
Mm,
so much advice out there. They'll be like, don't eat that, don't do that, you must do this by the time you wake up, you must have done, like there's advice and opinions out there for everything. But
yeah.
a lot of the wellness industry step back when it comes to being as honest as I think they should be about alcohol.
100%.
Um, and I always say to groups when we go into them, I'm not here to tell anybody not to drink alcohol. Like, absolutely not. My partner still drinks, my family still drink. But what I think people are entitled to is the correct information about it, and then they can make their own decision about whether it fits with their life,
Yeah.
their goals, their struggles in life.
Yeah.
But I think when there's such a societal expectation that you will drink and that you'll drink within like certain parameters, I think certain areas of the wellness industry have shied away from saying, I don't think you should do that. Usually because people still drink themselves, so they don't want to be a bit of a hypocrite.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think more information should be out there, and so people can make their own decisions about whether it fits for them.
Absolutely. I mean, I know from me, coaching clients one to one, I've always said if fat loss is your goal, then we need to park alcohol
Mm-hmm.
for this phase
Yep.
of fat loss, because it does impact everything like you're saying.
Yep.
But yeah, and I know I've known other PTs to say, just limit it to the weekends, or like you said, don't stay off the wine and go for your slimmer sort of
Yeah.
spirits and so on. But
But I think though that's fair dues, but alcohol's not just affecting you the day that you're drinking. So the
yeah,
next day it's messing with your leptin and your ghrelin. So it's like you're practically white knuckling it not to phone Domino's or a Chinese the next day
oh
because you're so tired for that type of food. And then the older we get, the longer the hangovers go on for. So it's the next day before you might still be eating rubbish by the day two.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's all very well saying, oh, everything in moderation, but actually if one day is taking you like one day's drinking is taking you 3 days away from your goal, whether your goal's fitness, whether your goal's diet, whether your goal's business related, productivity related.
Yeah,
And I don't think we always factor in those days. Like if you're doing a sum about your own commitment to something, I don't
yeah,
think we always factor those days in as much as we do the day or the night of the drinking.
of course. Yeah. And then it's that all or nothing mindset creeps in. Oh, well, it's been 2 days, I've not followed my, plan.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we'll start again on Monday. And then this is how we end up in this negative loop of forever
Mm-hmm.
being in a diet, or,
Yes.
um, so yeah, I definitely see that. So why do you think then, Gillian, alcohol becomes more normalized in midlife? Is it stress? Is it burnout? What is it?
So I think it's been so many things all contributing towards it. Um, I was a politics and sociology student, right? So I love to actually dig into the kind of societal trends and stuff like that as well. But um, without going into like a big history lesson, I suppose you can think about as more women became more powerful within the workplace and stuff like that, as they became and as they found themselves in positions alongside men,
Yeah,
in order to keep up with in a lot of these corporate roles, in order to be in the room with men, a lot of those rooms were the pubs and the restaurants and the events afterwards. Like a lot of the relationships and decisions were taken not just in the boardrooms, but outside in the bars where people got to know us. So not being in there was quite a difficult place for women. So they would be there and drinking along with the men. I think as well though, for me, I grew up drinking. So see that like ladette, I hate the ladette culture, but we started to become a point where there was that kind of rite of passage for a certain generation, of which I class myself as one of them. So by the time I was in midlife, I was drinking for most occasions, good days, bad days, sunny days. Like, oh, that's the clocks went back. We're not going out. We'll drink. Like every christenings, funerals.
yeah,
Um, and also, the pandemic really hit women hard. Women
yes,
definitely took on more of the caring role, more of the homeschooling, more of the household tasks, and the stress of all that, and the worry about everything that was going on with COVID. So that definitely really increased drinking within women. But the big alcohol companies it's really interesting when you start to look at the way that they changed their behaviour, because they many years ago realised that there was all these women sitting at home and not in the pub. So you only have to look at how pink a drinks aisle is to see how much they have targeted women, because there's like 50% of the population that they needed to get drinking, and they have been very, very clever in the way that they have approached women and younger women
Yeah.
as well. So there's lots and lots of different factors have contributed to that. And then the mummy wine culture has kind of made light and made humour of that, both from a female point of view, but also from the children's point of view. Like you saw the baby grows and things like that. There's one I actually done a wee reel of it. I was up at the local supermarket and I was looking at birthday cards, and it was from 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 100, and every single one had a glass in its hand.
Oh, wow.
So there's all these very subtle messages that are there, and it's not till you start looking at them and start becoming aware of them that you can't not see them anymore. So yeah, there's lots of different ways it's become so normalised. Just the other week there, actually, I was listening to the radio and they mentioned cigarettes, and they were like, "Oh no, kids, don't do cigarettes." And then they went on to talk about alcohol for like the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just found that really interesting because there was like rumours that the Chancellor might put a tax or increased tax on alcohol, and people were, and they talked and they talked and they talked about it and what they'd like to drink. And so it's so interesting that they'll not, like the wee kind of, yeah, that smoking's not good for you, don't do that. But alcohol was talked about openly, and this was breakfast radio. This was like before we were at our work in the morning.
Yes. Wow. That is interesting. Absolutely. Like, yeah, it's just as bad as drugs. It is, isn't it, really? But it's just
Yeah,
normalized in our
yeah,
society so much that it's like ingrained into the day to day.
yeah. And even at government level, there's a man who's wrote a book, so Professor David Nutt, and he was the advisor to the government on drugs. I think it was Tony Blair's government,
Okay.
and he was asked to compile a report and advise people, like, and scale the drugs from most harmful to least harmful. And he put alcohol right up there, and they told him he couldn't include it. And when he refused to take alcohol out, they sacked him because there's so much funding and there's so much money from the lobbyists and stuff from alcohol. So government were making him take alcohol out the listing of harmful drugs.
That's an eye opener, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gillian, I mean, you've touched on your story a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but let's take a deeper dive into your story with alcohol and what was really the key sort of hard hitters that led you to becoming alcohol free.
So I think, as I said earlier, I kind of just grew up drinking. Like
Yeah,
from that first carry out that I ever had as a youngster down the park, there was just, there had to be a real reason why I wouldn't drink as opposed to why I would. It just became every weekend, and it would progress for the park to the pub to the student union and all the rest of it. So
yeah,
I never ever thought my drinking was out of the ordinary. And then once I had my wee boy, I just feel like that my anxiety then just ramped up a notch. I think going back to work and looking after a kid when motherhood didn't, I don't think motherhood does come naturally to some people, but it didn't come naturally to me. Um, so what I had was this real push and pull. I had all these reasons why not to drink. I had this wee boy who was so dependent on me. And then I had this stressful job that was like making me making me like just the stress of that.
yeah.
But also because I'd grown up in a way that alcohol was offered as a solution to stress and to relax, I
Mm.
also had I had more reasons to drink. So it was back and forth and back and forth. And my anxiety was just through the roof. And I tried everything, Nikki. I tried exercise, I tried meditation. I was on medication, and I was really looking for every other answer, but please God, don't make it the alcohol. Like I wouldn't think about that elephant in the room. And then, and I wasn't an alcoholic, but I certainly had a life where alcohol was always around.
Yeah.
And I think eventually I always swear, like, do you ever get that where you think your phone's listening to you?
Yes.
So
Oh,
all of a sudden these adverts for 1 year no beer popped up on my phone. I was like, oh my God, my phone knows exactly how I'm feeling. My phone knows how I'm feeling. But anyway, I gave it a bash,
mhm.
and they done like challenges. So there was 28 days. And I tried one and it was fine.
Yeah.
And then I would drink again. And then I would try another one. And then I would drink again. Sometimes I would see it through to the end. Other times, many, many times, I failed miserably at them and would drink. And eventually, I just built this bank of evidence for myself where I knew physically and emotionally could feel that I felt dreadful over here, and that was when I was drinking.
Yeah.
And all the other symptoms, the anxiety, the redness, the lack of sleep, not at the gym. And over here, when I wasn't drinking, I felt fabulous. And eventually I couldn't ignore that. I couldn't ignore that evidence anymore. I
Yeah.
couldn't ignore it. And people love to say, oh, so what clicked? What clicked? And I wish I knew. I wish I was like, on that day, the lightning struck and I knew
Yes.
what I was doing, but I didn't. I just know what day it was the last day that I had a drink, and I just thought I can't keep on doing this anymore. Like going through that cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I quit, and it was during the pandemic. I do always remember kind of laughing that you would get to remember those horrible daily briefings
Oh
where we
gosh,
would
yes.
sit down, right?
Yeah.
And I would sit down with my dinner and open a bottle of wine. And I thought, that was fine when we first thought we were only going to be in it for 3 weeks. But
Yes.
eventually, I was like, I can't open a bottle of wine every time I see Boris Johnson's face. Like, that needs to stop. So I did. Eventually, I just stopped, and then it's honest to God, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
So good to hear, Gillian. So, like you said, it was an accumulation of evidence that
Yes.
made you go, do you know what? This is not for me anymore.
Mhm.
Like, and that was that. But how did your sort of physical and emotional well-being then shift once you had completely removed alcohol from your
Uh-huh.
life then?
Well, so emotionally, like I'm not on medication anymore, and it wasn't long before I didn't need to take medication for anxiety anymore.
Oh, amazing.
Like that. And again, also, I've now got a belief in myself, because I believe if I can give up alcohol in this alcohol crazy world, I can do anything. Like,
Yes.
so, and that's a confidence I never ever had growing up. Like, I never believed in myself. And when you start showing up somewhere as you, instead of you plus a couple of glasses of wine to take the edge off, or that Dutch courage, when you start to show up as you and say who you are and what, like, and stand by what you want,
Yes.
like, that's a kind of confidence that can only come from within. Like, nobody can teach you that stuff. But all my life I'd just like followed along with the crowd and people pleased, and then all of a sudden I was there doing something that only I was doing. Like, none of I didn't know anyone else that was giving up alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, my confidence, my anxiety. I still get anxious, but appropriately anxious, I would say. My
Yes.
husband might not agree with that, right? But I do. I think I'm anxious when I'm meant to be anxious. Um, but physically,
Mhm.
like I've never, loads of people said they lost weight when they stopped drinking. I haven't, but I am the fittest and the fastest and the strongest I've ever been, because now I stick at something. Now I
Yeah.
go to the gym, whereas before, like you were saying earlier, like our motivation slides the next day and the next day, and then you go,
Yeah.
I'll just start again on Monday.
Yeah.
I had literally tried everything going, like from step to spin to CrossFit to this and that. I'd tried everything and nothing ever stuck.
Mm.
Whereas now, I've been running for 5 years, I've been in the same gym for 4 years. Like I show up to those places even when I don't want to, for myself, and I feel physically, and I'm fitter than I was in my 20s.
So amazing. Yeah.
And it's just for making that one change.
Hmm. So powerful, Gillian. It really is.
Mm.
So, I mean, what then inspired you to create our circle and coaching specifically then for women?
So for me, um, I did I stopped drinking through 1 year no beer, but 1 year no beer was like massive. Like it was huge. And there's thousands and thousands of people and they're from all around the world. But for me, my alcohol use, as I said to you, was so caught up in being a mum and feeling like I didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing and the stress of being a working mum and stuff. And I just always wanted to help women like me.
Yeah.
And I think there are lots of very, very good alcohol free groups and coaching out there,
Mm.
but they don't necessarily bring it from a mum's point of view or from a woman's point of view. They'll look at the alcohol,
Mm.
but I think, like most things in life, we've got a bit of a different outlook on these things, mums and women. And when I met Karen, who on the coaching course, we both trained together.
Amazing.
And we met one another on the first day, and we were put together in the first wee coaching, like wee practice session, and we just kept meeting up online. Like
Yeah.
Karen lives down in Barnsley, and when we first met, she lived in Essex.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But we both just had the exact same struggles, and we both had the exact same vision. Like we
Hmm.
both had the same goals out of it. And it just kind of progressed from there. We don't want change is scary, and
Yeah.
being a woman and being a mum is really, really tough. So we don't want this to feel like it's something else on top of a to-do list. So when we have our group Zooms, if you're comfortable with your kid being there, bring them on. Like if that means you get there, do it. Like,
Yeah.
but if you can't come, we've also got other mums who have never been on a Zoom because
Mm.
that's bedtime and they can't do it. So we'll connect with them in other ways. We know what the demands of motherhood brings, and that's why we work around. That's why we work round about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, are there small, approachable steps that women can take before sort of committing to full sobriety?
Yeah, I mean, I would. Oh, I always say to people, just run a wee experiment. Like as I said to you, I built my own bank of evidence, but there seems for me that we're so dramatic about not drinking, right? So we kind of say like, oh, I can never go out with the girls and not drink. Like, just do it one night. Just do it one night. See if you hate it. Get steaming drunk the next night. Like, it's not, but we seem to think if I don't drink at this wedding, that's it. If I
Yeah.
don't drink on this new year, that's it. But all we need to do is just give ourselves a run a wee experiment. You never know, you might actually love it. But if you don't just try it and take all the drama out of it and just give it a bash,
Yeah.
whereas we think it's like it's an all or nothing thing when it comes to alcohol. You're either not drinking at all or you're drinking all the time. Whereas I like to think we could just do a wee trial. I used to say that to myself at the beginning, like say it was a Friday night and I was sitting in the house with my husband. I would always say, right, I'm going to have this alcohol-free drink.
Yeah.
And if I still feel like I'm absolutely dying for a drink, I'll have it after this one. And I never did, because by the time I'd poured it into a nice glass and I'd sat down and I'd got the crisps out or the whatever, the urge had passed.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would say, right, if this is absolutely awful, I'll just get steaming tomorrow night. And
Yeah.
again, I wouldn't, because the next day I'd feel great about myself for not doing it, and I wouldn't feel hungover, and I'd have been to the gym and stuff like that. So I think people can just dip their toe into it without feeling like they've got to commit to a whole lifetime of sobriety. Can just have a bit of fun with it.
Absolutely. I mean, you touched on there, like, I can never go out with the girls because I can't not have a drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose when you add other people into the mix and you are then the trendsetter to say, I'm not drinking tonight, it's uncomfortable for everybody else who is drinking because it
Yeah.
puts a bit of a spotlight on them.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it can feel, I'd imagine, quite lonely being that one person in that
Yeah.
group to be like, no, it's not supporting what I want to do or how I want
Mm-hmm.
to feel, so I'm not doing it. I
Yep.
mean, so community in that respect is everything. So how does our circle support that?
So yeah, we've got that is one of the biggest fears that we for like I would say every woman that's come into our circle is like, I'm going to lose friends. I'm not going to enjoy being out with my friends the same. And we'll help people, we'll talk them through it. And 9 times out of 10, it's never as bad as they imagine it. Okay.
Yeah,
It's always up here, and the reality is much more relaxed, and your pals are like, all right, that's fine, okay, you can drive us home or whatever, and
yeah,
they're much more the good friends, the friends that are there because they want to be your friends. The friends that are just there because you're a drinker will fizzle out, but the real friends will stay. But I think the sense of community is so important, because you then realise that you're not alone. I think when you get to a point where you think, I need to stop drinking for whatever reason, and you worry that other people are going to think, oh, if she's not drinking, she must have a problem. And if she thinks she's got a problem, does she think I've got a problem? Like, that's what people start panicking about.
yeah,
And when you come into a room or a Zoom or a space and realise that everybody's feeling exactly the same, you start to go, oh God, that that makes you feel safer in your
yeah,
own choices.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, what changes would you say that you see most often in women who stop drinking during menopause?
Calm, calmness.
Mm-hmm.
People can't believe how much more calm they feel when they take alcohol out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just think, as women, we are so busy, we are running around and we're so stressed, and that's without menopause and all the added factors that it brings to it. But the amount of women that say to us, I just feel calmer, like that internal noise quietens down. It really goes away, but it quietens down, and they start to feel and make decisions for themselves.
So just to put that into perspective then, how quickly can women expect to see the improvements from stopping alcohol, and things like their sleep and all of that?
really quickly. Like the benefits of not drinking happen very quickly. It will be different for most people, for many people, sorry, like depending on how you were drinking as well. Like if you were a regular drinker and you stop, you will feel the benefits really quickly. For some people, if you're drinking every few weeks and then you stop drinking, you might not feel the difference as quickly as other people who have drank a bit more regularly.
Yeah.
But you definitely can feel the difference. The the sober sleep is definitely a thing. It absolutely is. In fact, my friend Karen, who I do it with, just woke up from a 3-hour nap today, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my god!" Like
it's amazing.
Karen's sleep is like something else. Honest to goodness, um, the sleep, and that's the key to everything, isn't it? See if we get good sleep.
Oh, but
Wow,
unstoppable.
I know you do. You feel like you can take on the world when you've had a good night, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the you can feel the improvements pretty quickly. I have to say, because all of a sudden your body's not getting poison in it. It's like thanking you for it. People do notice like very tired at the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, and then there is quite a sugar craving as well. People have noticed whether it's psychologically you're looking for that kind of dopamine hit
Yeah.
again, but also depending on your drink of choice. If you've been drinking like wine or you've been having like fizzy juices and stuff like that, your body's been used to getting that. Um, but I always say focus on giving up the booze, and once you realise you can do that, you can nail anything. Like don't worry about the other stuff. You'll be able to once you've cracked the alcohol, you'll manage to make other positive changes. No bother.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Gillian. So, what's one thing that you wish every woman knew about alcohol and menopause?
Oh, see, I don't know that I can actually nail it down to one thing. I do wish that it's for me, it's the cortisol stuff. Like, people think they're relaxing, people think they're switching off, and it's just ranking things up for them. Ramping things up. Sorry, it's just that for me is a very very big lie that we've all been fed, and then you get to a point in your life where you're even more stressed, and the thought of having to then remove alcohol as well
Yeah,
is, I can really understand why people are like, I'm going through all of this and now you want me to give up alcohol as well, because that's almost like the trusted friend that's switching you off at the end of the day.
yeah, the
And so
crutch.
that's where I feel as if people are really being backed into a corner, and I just think it's desperately unfair. I really think it's unfair.
Absolutely. Well, before we close our conversation today, Gillian, just um, one last question. What words of encouragement would you give to someone listening who's scared to change their drinking habits?
Just give it a shot. Give it a wee bash. Like it is, as I said, take the drama out of it, okay?
Yeah,
Don't think you need to stop forever. Give yourself small challenges almost. Like we do a 2-month alcohol free experience because we do think you need a wee bit longer than just a month to really feel all the other benefits
yeah,
combined. And because we look at it from being a mum and a woman as well, as opposed to just alcohol, but just give yourself a wee experiment. Just try it. Don't take it too seriously. Don't be so dramatic and think you're never ever going to drink again. Trial it out, and then you decide for yourself. Like there's all the all the information's out there. It will tell you alcohol's bad for you, alcohol's this, alcohol's that. Until we know what it's doing to us and until we know what it feels like without it, it's really difficult to make that decision for ourselves. So I would say just take your fear and run away experiment anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like take the pressure off. Isn't it?
Exactly. Take the pressure off. It's a funny thing. Like nobody says I'm going to take up running and I'm going to run a marathon next month.
Mm,
Like, you start off small, you try it, and you probably don't run for a couple of weeks, and then you try it again. And I think for me personally, I had 100-day ones, Nikki. I really did. And at the time, I felt terrible about them. But see, now I actually look back at them and think every time a day one happened, I learned something else about why I drank and why I don't want to drink. So just try it. It doesn't need to be 100% perfect. Just give it a wee bash and see what you think.
absolutely. And I'm sure your DMs are open always, aren't they, Gillian? For
Always, always. I'm
anyone
always
who
banging on about being
help.
alcohol free. So anybody they want to talk about it, I'm more than happy to chat.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be putting all of Gillian's information in the show notes. So all the links of where to contact Gillian and find out a little bit more about our circle as well.
Thank
But
you.
you've been brilliant, Gillian. Thank you so much for joining us today on the pod.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.